Yeah, good evening all. Yeah, welcome to the evening where Prabhu sir will share more about Kena Upanishad. Sir, over to you, sir. Prabhu sir, sorry sir, yes. Your video is switched off, sir.
I don't know why.
Yeah, now it is on. Yeah, please, sir.
Om Apyayantu mamangani vak pranaschakshu srotramadho balamindriyani cha sarvani sarvam brahmopanishadam maham brahma nirakuryaan mama brahma nirakarot anirakaranamastu anirakaranam me astu yadhatmani nirate ya upanishadsu dharmaste Mayi Santu Te, Mayi Santu. So we start this evening.
Okay, sir.
Yes, please mute your mics, all of you. The Kena Upanishad is second in sequence after the Isha Upanishad we did last time. I hope you have remembered what happened last time. So now it starts with the word Kena, that means by what? It's a little big, so I'll go a little fast. So there's an inquiry on what is the cause of all functions of the body, mind, senses. What is the force behind the mind working? What is the force behind the eyes and ears and so on working? Kene shitam padati preshitam manaha kena prana pradhama praiti yuktaha kene shitam vachamimam vadanti chakshusrotram kaudevo yunakti. This mind is driven by what cause? What causes the mind to drive? What causes the life to live? Prana. And what causes the eyes and the ears to function as they do? So, does anybody have an answer? There is one cause for all this. So, we are trying to understand what is the force behind our mind, our life, our senses, our entire activity. It's a very profound question because actually nobody knows the answer. To be very frank. And science is just trying to give all kinds of theories. Partly may be true, partly may be false. Whereas the Upanishad is going to give some deep intuition, which is a mystical and philosophical answer for this question. Srotrasya srotram manaso manova yad vacho vacham sahu pranasya pranaha. Chakshuscha chakshur atimucha dhira pretya asmal loka amruta bhavanti. The courageous dhiras will reach that which is the mind of the mind, the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, the life of life. And by reaching that, whatever transcendental truth behind all this, the courageous people will become immortal. See what a profound answer it is. There is something behind all this, and those who reach that, they transcend these limitations of life and they become immortal. That means one of the main problems we have is mortality. Everybody dies. We know that what has happened in Corona. How to become immortal? Not in the sense of medical immortality, but it is something different. So there is something behind all this, which is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind and the light, I, and so on. Natatra chakshur gacchati na vag gacchati no manana vidmo na vijanimo yadetha anushisha. And once you reach there, you will realize that the eye cannot reach there, the ear cannot reach there, the mind cannot reach there, and we don't even know what it is. That means there is something, and only the jnanis, those who know Brahma Jnana, will know it. Anya devata vidita tadho anidita dadhi iti susrama purvesham yena stadhyacha chakshire. Now there is a question of knowledge and ignorance. Whether that particular power or force or entity behind all these things happening, whether it can be known, whether it can be expressed, whether it can be explained. That is, in fact, what is called Brahman, or absolute truth, or we call popularly as Ishvara or God, or Bhagavan. That's a popular terminology, but in the Upanishads it is called Brahman. Yad vacha anabhyuditam yena vaga abhyudyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadupas. Know that to be the Brahman, or the absolute reality, because of which speech comes out, and speech cannot reach. And that does not depend on speech. And know that to be the Brahman, not what you are worshipping. What is that we are worshipping today? We worship money, we worship power, we worship jobs. At the most, we may worship one or two devatas. But he is talking, all this is false. There is something behind, higher than all this, even behind the devatas. Because all devatas are only limited. Like Saraswati is devata of knowledge. Lakshmi is devata of wealth and goodness. It is not infinite, eternal Parabrahman. But all these devatas are only windows, certain specific windows to the Parabrahman, which is at the end, which is behind all. Chakshushana pashyati yena chakshunchi pashyanti. That which does not require the eyes to see, but the eyes require it to see. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam vidupasate. For example, when somebody is sleeping, his eyes will not see. Eyes are there, but they will not work. Yat shrotrena na shrunoti yena shrotramidam srutam. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam vidupasate. Similarly about ears. Yat pranena na praniti yena prana praniyate. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yedidam upasate. And that which does not require prana to live, but prana requires it to exist. That is to be known as Brahman, and not what you are worshipping. Now next, yadi manyase suvede brahmeva sasunam tvam netha brahmana rupam yadaschatvam yadasya deveshvara mimamsasya te manye viditam. Naham manye suvedeti no navedeti veda chayonas tadveda tadveda no navedeti veda cha. And that Brahman cannot be known in the sense of what we know, say Pythagoras theorem or something else we know. In that sense, it cannot be known. Naham manye suvedeti. I don't think I know. And if somebody says I know, he doesn't know. Known away, and I cannot say I don't know, because I have to accept there is some power behind all the phenomena of the universe. Yonas tadveda tadveda yon nona vedeti vedacha. A person who says he knows, he actually doesn't know. He is just bluffing. But a person who says he does not know may know something. Naham gunadhikat tatha atmanah paratattva grahane brahmatata. So the transcendental reality, absolute reality of Brahman, which is also depicted as Om in other Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, cannot be actually known because it is something which causes knowledge. It is like the difference between knowledge and knowing the object. The process of knowledge, the ability to know itself, Yasya amatam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasa avijñātam vijanata vijñānam avijanata. So those who say they know, they actually don't. Pratibodha viditam mat mama kritatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vijjaya vindate amrita. So by the enlightenment of Brahman, or what we call as God realization or self-realization, then only it is possible to be understood or experienced. So it is not like knowing ordinary objects. That way it cannot be known. And he who says he knows, he is just bluffing. Iha ched tavedi dasat satyamasti nate diha vedin bhati vinashchi bhuteshu bhuteshu vichinchatira prechasmar lokan amrita bhavanti. In this life, while you are alive, if you can acquire that level of awareness, of enlightenment, then you will be liberated, you will be in self-realized state. If you don't realize that in this life, you will be flooded with the sequence of life and death. That means you don't know, you die, and due to ignorance, you are born again, and again you go through this process. So it becomes imperative that you get the supreme knowledge, the self-realization in this life when you are alive, because you don't know what will happen after death. Either you will be born again, or you may be not there at all, or you may be becoming something else. Brahma devebhyo vijigetasya brahmano vijaye deva vindhanta ishnastamage varanjayo yasmakam enayam mahimeti. Now we have come to the third section, which says that there was a story is being given, the story of the Devas and the Asuras. They had a big fight, and it went on for a long time. And because the Asuras are not spiritual, they are not oriented towards divine power, they were defeated. And the Devas, being oriented and propitiated by divine power, they won. And after winning, they felt very great, that they became egoistic. We have won, we are great. So they started behaving in an arrogant manner. Indra and all other devatas. Indra is the king of all devatas. Tadhaisham vijajnotebhyo pradurbhavuva tannaprajanata kiminam yakshamiti. Suddenly, there was a kind of a fireball, light ball, big light. And they never saw such a thing in the past. So they wondered, what is this? In that kind of a pride behavior, arrogant behavior, they saw one Tejas. And they asked, what is this? And nobody knows about it. So first they told Agni, oh Agni, you go there and find out what it is and come back. Te Agni Vabruvan Jataveda Etat Vijanihi Kimetat Yakshamiti. What is this unknown Yaksha? Find out and come. So Tadabhyadra Uttamabhyavadat Kosi Jagnirvahamasmi Jabravijataveda Vahamasmi Tasmin Strayikim Vedyameti Asidam Sarvam Teheyam Yadidam Prithivyaamiti. So he went there and told that light, that power of light, that see, I am Agni, I can burn anything in this world. Then what happened? Tasmai trunam nidadha tadaheti tadupapreyaya sarvajavena tanna shashagataktham satata eva vivavritena etadashakam vijñātum ya etada yakshamiti. Suddenly there was a small grass blade appearing there, and the voice told Agni, come on, burn it. You said that you can burn anything in this world. Agni tried his best to burn that grass blade, dried grass blade, but he could not burn. Then he became defeated and he came back without knowing what that power is, and told other devatas and Indra Then they told Vayu, Atha Vayum Abruvan Vayuneta Trijani Kimetat Yakshami Idadeti. So Devatas sent Vayu for the second round. Tadabhyatryavattamabhyavatatko asiti Vayurvahamasmityabravid. Matarishva va ahamasmiti tasmin svai kim viryamityasidam sarvamadadiyam yadidam prithivyaamiti. So Vayu went and repeated the same thing. So the power asked, who are you? He said, I am Vayu. I can move and take away anything. Tasmai trinam nidadhadeta dvadatseti tadupapreyaya sarvajavena tanna shashaka dhatum satata eva vivavrute daita dashakam vijnatum nayeta yakshamiti. And why you could not move that grass blade, right grass blade. So he came back with a failure and with shame. Then after coming back, then Indra, all Devatas said, the king of Devatas, Indra, come on Indra, you go and tackle this matter. Adhendram Abruvan, Bhagavan Naneta, Vijani, Kimeta, Yakshamiti, what is this unknown thing? Find out and come. Tadhedidabhya, Dravadatasmat, he came and again, he told, I am Indra. Satasmin Narena Akashe, Striyamajagama, Bahushobhamana, Mumam. He also failed and came back. Then he realized there is something wrong, they have done something wrong, and suddenly Uma appeared in the sky. Tasminne akashe striyamajagama, one female figure, divine female, Bahushobhamanam Umam Haimavati. Uma Haimavati appeared in the sky. Tam hovacha kimetad yakshamiti. So they asked her, what is this power? Sa brahmeti hovacha brahmano va etad vijaye mahiyadvamiti tato havai vidam chakara brahmeti. Then that Uma, Vidya Devi, told like this, O Indra, right from an atom or an amoeba onwards up to Brahma, the entire universe, in all living beings and non-living beings, that which is spread as Satchidananda Lakshana, Paratpara Tattva, that is this light, what you have been perplexed all this time. Tasmadva ete deva atitaramivanyam devan yadakti vairindrastehena idishtam sasprishuttehena pradhamoye Chakara Brahmedi. For the first time, the Devas came to know. Devas means the natural powers, various natural powers. They're supposed to be some 33 crores, 33 lakhs, 3033, out of which the most important are Adityas, Rudras, Maruts, Ashwins, Palagas, and so on. So all these are headed by Indra, and they all became a failed power. Tasmadva Indro Aditarami, please mute your mics. Nanyan Devanya Hena Nishtam Sasparsha Sahyotar Pradhamo Vidam Chakara Brahmeti. So they came to know for the first time through Uma, the goddess of supreme knowledge, that there is something which is higher than all of us, which is behind us. Why this story is told to us is, in the beginning it was told, that which is behind the mind, that which is behind the eyes, that which is behind the ears and so on, that which is behind all the powers of nature, that which is behind nature. Tasvesha adesho edetat vidyuto vyuto da itannina yadidaivatam. So, this Brahman is the power behind the creation. It can create all the avatars, it can withdraw, it can create the universe, it can withdraw the universe. And there are three levels, the Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika. Brahman is spiritual level, which is Adhyatmika level. Adi Daivika are the Devatas, the powers of nature, both at the gross and subtle levels. And of course, the Adi Bhautika is just a gross universe which you see with your eyes and hear with your ears. Adha Adhyatmam yatedat gacchativa cha mano anena daitam chaitad upasmarat abhikshnam sankalpaha. Now we are coming to some core issues. The mind is driven by the consciousness. Because the first question was, what drives the mind? The mind is just a disturbance or a variation or a vibration inside pure consciousness. The pure consciousness is Brahman. I am Atma Brahma. So the mind is the most subtle of all the organs. We have the ears and the eyes and the hands and legs. They can anyway not reach anywhere near that. So it is mind, of course, Buddhi is a higher mind. And beyond that is the possibility of realization of the all-pervading Brahman. That is what he is saying. Atha adhyatmam yatedat gacchativa cha mano anena chaita upasmarati abhikshnam sankalpaha. Tadhatadvanam namatadvanam nityupastavyam eta eva log devam ne davihaivam sarvani bhutani samvanchanti. So all the living beings are looking for what is Ishvara, what is God, and that is Pratyagatma. Samastalokasya Pratyagatmata Sthitam Param Brahma Vichinchataadvanam Upasyate yena samasta chetana bhajantitam sevyataya upasakam. Upanishadambo bruhit chukad Upanishadam Brahmi Nana Upanishadam Abrumeti. So this is the Brahmajnana which the teacher has taught to the student to ask the basic question. And to acquire Brahmajnana, last time there was a question in the Ishavasya Upanishad, how to acquire Vidya. Vidya means Jnana, Brahmajnana. So here he is giving a method. Tasyai tapo dama karmeti pratishtha. Tapas, dama, self-control or discipline, and karma, that is punya karma. Vedas sarvangani satyamayatanam. So Brahma Vidya, Brahmajnana, Vidya means Brahma Vidya, can be acquired through tapas, self-control, and karma as the foundations. And what is tapas? Tapas is focusing, concentrating the mind deeply, along with, of course, the senses, and controlling the internal indriyas. And the karma is all punya karma, all types of karma we have, Srauta karma, Smarta karma, Pauranika karma, all punya. Because the Vedas, the Vedangas are the ayatanam, the base of this Brahmajnana. That means Brahmajnana is acquired through the understanding of the Vedas and the Vedantas, and including, of course, Vedangas, Vedanga, Darshana, and of which Vedanta is the last Darshana. Rugyayasa Maharvana Vedas, Siksha, Vyakarana, Chando, Nirukta, Jyotisha, the Kalpa are the Vedangas. And what is the house of the Brahman? Satyamayatanam, truth. Truth is the house of Brahman. Brahman lives in truth because this is the ultimate truth. Yova etam evam veda sahatya papmanam anante swarge loke jye pratitishthati. Itham yastu brahma vidyam vibhudyet atva avidyam janma karma padatrim स्थैर्यं याति ब्रह्मणि स्वात्मभूते नित्यानंदे निर्मले स्वर्गरूपे. So by acquiring this Brahma Vidya, Brahmajnanam, by destroying the avidya, we acquire Vidya, because avidya is the cause of birth and death. And he who reaches stability and fixed establishment in the self, in the Brahman, he will remain in Nitya Ananda, eternal bliss, pure eternal bliss, which is heavenly abode. So this is the end of the Kena Upanishad. So by performing tapasya, by being established in Satya and following Dharma and following Punya Karma and following all other good prescriptions given, it is possible to reach Brahmajnana, which is the Vedantic truth, the self-realization. And that is moksha. So now we again chant the Shanti mantra. After that we go for discussion. Om आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक् प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमधो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. This Shanti mantra also says that dharma which is given in the Upanishads, may that be established in me and let me have a wonderful state of being. May all my organs be blessed. May all be propitiated. Apyayantu mamangani vak pranas chakshus srotram adhobalam indriyani cha sarvani sarvam brahmopanishadam. All these are becoming divine, close to Brahman. May Brahman not reject me. Maham Brahma nirakurya. Mama Brahma niraka. May I not reject Brahman. Anirakaranamastu anirakaranam me astu. No rejection, no rejection. Ya Upanishatsu dharmaste mai santu te mai santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace of three levels. So we have finished the text of the Kena Upanishad. We will take up Kathopanishad in our next month session, which is deeper. It may have 2-3 parts, 2-3 sessions. It's a big one. It's more profound. Each Upanishad is more profound than the previous. We have seen today the Kena Upanishad after Isha Upanishad last time. You might have understood this is more deeper and more profound by now. Now I open it for discussion, questions and answers. Please go ahead and ask any question or answer. Feel free.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Prabhu, sir, for giving. I think others, please, if you have any questions, since it is the name is only Kena Upanishad, there should be many questions from all the Jignasus. So please unmute yourself and go ahead with your questions. Sir, I don't think anyone has questions. Balai, sir?
I'm sure they have a lot of questions because it was too highly packed and intense interaction, but let them open up. So, yeah, Balaya, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you. Very much.
Rajbhushan, are you there? Okay, I will explain more deeper, easier.
Yeah,
than what
that's what, sir. So we have more time, sir. If you can explain more about these things, I think that will help.
Please mute your mics, all of you. Yeah, in the last session on Isha Upanishad, we have seen that unless you go to Vidya, Jnana, from Avidya, in which we live, and he has also said there, Avidya Mantre Vartamana. So those who live in Avidya, they consider themselves to be great knowledge scholars, experts, and they will be going from one life to the other and suffering all these consequences of each life. So from Avidya, you have to go to Vidya. Vidyamcha Vidyancha Tadvedo Vayamsa Avidyaya Mrutyum Tirtva Vidyaya Mrutamashute. You can acquire immortality through Vidya. That's what Isha Upanishad says. And how to acquire that Vidya? People have asked questions. Now, this Upanishad is giving that path. So that path which is being given is to follow tapas. You have to perform tapas and have self-control and perform punya karma. And therefore, if you study the Vedas with all their subordinate parts and supportive components, then you will reach the truth, which is the house of Brahmajnana. Satyamayatanam. Tamak karma tapamsi samshrayo nigama angai tadha ashrayam ritubhashanam evad diram hyadhigachot panishto o param. This param brahma tattva can be acquired through this process. Of course, in the other, in Kathopanishad, there will be a discussion more deeper than this between Yama and Nachiketa, where this more detailed explanation is given, like the steps involved, Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasa. First, you hear about it. As you are all hearing, but it looks very outlandish, as usual. And then you Mananam. I've heard in my life, maybe at the age of 10 or 12. Now I am around 70. So for about 50, 60 years, I am doing the Mananam and Nididhyasa. Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. That is recalling, recounting what was heard and analyzing it and contemplating over it. Nididhyasa. Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. Because right now we are in a worldly level of just Jivatva, an individual life, and we are talking of Brahman, which is transcendental reality above everything. So we are talking of Vidya or Brahmajnana at that level, and we are at this level. From minus infinity to plus infinity, we have to traverse. So that is possible through various means. Normally, people think Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa is adequate. If that is true, then a lot of people must have got Brahmajnana and Moksha by now. Because the gurus and the teachers of various organizations, they have been teaching it for ages. Since my childhood, I have been hearing. In fact, in Hyderabad, when Swami Chinmayananda used to come, there used to be a meeting at Nizam's College. There will be around 2 lakh people sitting there. And he will give Brahmajnana delivered on the mic. And if it is true that by hearing that all these 2 lakh people got liberated, that is not possible. So Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana is the 3 processes involved. But more important, what is told today is tapas and dhamma and Veda, Vedanga, Adhyayana, and of course, Satyam, being established in truth. So these are the compulsory requirements to reach that level. It is not a joke. It is not an easy thing. Aneka janma samsparshas tato yati param gati. Bhagavad Gita also says, many lives, when they pass through this process, you will acquire self-realization and enlightenment. It could be this life, because you already passed the previous lives. Or it could be next life. Or it could be after so many lives. It depends on the case. In fact, Lord Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatapi siddhaye yatatam siddhanam kaschid mam veti tattvataha. Out of thousands and millions of people, only 1 or 2 will come into this path. And among those 1 or 2 who came into this path, among thousands of such people, only 1 or 2 will reach the ultimate. It is so difficult. We know how things are difficult to get into IIT or to get into IAS. It is something of a much higher order, similar, but it is much higher order scale. So for all the IITians, I don't have to tell what is being competitive and what is being selected finally in the competition. So this is also a much bigger scale of competition. Everybody wants to get moksha, but they don't get. So for this, there is a beautiful story Ramakrishna sir told. There is a blind man who is going around in a fort. The fort is closed in all directions except at the gate. So he's a blind man, so he's holding the wall and he's moving along the wall. And exactly when he comes to the door, which is opening to the outside world, he gets an itching in his back, and he will remove that hand and start itching. And then he keeps walking while itching. So because he's walking while itching, he has crossed the door, and again he catches the wall, and again he walks around and this goes on ad infinitum. So that itching is the problem. So at the right time, when the itching is stopped, the Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, and Tapo, Dana, Dharma, Satya, which will lead to, of course, then we have the path of yoga. Some of you may get this question. This is the path of Vedanta. What about the path of yoga? Now, this reconciliation between Vedanta and yoga is a very important and interesting topic. They are not opposites of each other. They are two different darshanas. All darshanas are complementary to each other. They are not contradictory to each other. So, in Vedanta Darshana, they have given certain preliminary or compulsory requirements. Shamadamadi Shatka Sampatti. Who is fit for this knowledge? Because this, within 30 minutes, we finished Kena Upanishad. In 20 minutes, we could finish Isha Upanishad. But who is fit to receive that enlightenment? So, Shamadamadi Shatka Sampatti. There are 6 requirements. 6 qualities as a first requirement. There are 4, what is called sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, 4 sadhana criteria for achieving success. First is shamadamadi shatka sampatti. Shama, dama, shanti, titiksha, uparati. That is, shama is being always calm and peaceful. Dama is always being self-controlled. Titiksha is always being forbearing and tolerance. Uparati is satisfaction. So these qualities themselves are very difficult to acquire on a long-term permanent basis in the personality. Then the second requirement after Samadhamad Shatka Sampatti is Nicha Nitya Vastu Viveka. What is permanent and what is not permanent? For example, a job is not permanent. Money is not permanent. Life is not permanent. What is permanent? Only Brahman is permanent, absolute. So Nicha Nitya Vastu Viveka. That Viveka, the discrimination between eternal and non-eternal objects. Then the third requirement is Ihamutra Phalabhoga Virakti. Not having any interest or desire on any object, either in this life or in heavenly abode. Even a desire to get heavenly life is a desire by itself. So Ihamutra Phalabhoga Virakti. Then the fourth final requirement is Mumukshatva. That is, wants moksha, wants to be liberated from this chain of birth and death. So these 4 are the sadhana chatushtaya, sampatti. They are called attributes or wealth. They are wealth of 4 categories. Only a person who is having all the 4 is fit to even listen to these things. Others cannot get anywhere near that. Because some of you have some of these qualities, you are able to even hear this. Others don't get anywhere near this. And then Shravana Manana Nididhyasa. Shravana is listening from the teacher or from scripture, and Manana is remembering, recounting again and again. Nididhyasana is contemplating and analyzing what has been told. This process, when it goes on for a long time, one day there will be an enlightenment opening up automatically within yourself, which is not an easy thing. This is one of the rarest of the rare. So, but because it is rarest of the rare, we cannot give up. So our efforts will be on. So coming to the yoga path, this what I told you till now is the Vedanta path. And coming to the yoga path, they almost told the same things in a different language. In fact, instead of saying Ihamutra Phalabhoga Virakti, they said Vairagya. Drishta Anusravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Vashikara Sanya Vairagyam. What is Vairagyam? Not having any desire on anything, either seen or heard or unseen or unheard. This is the same thing as Ihamutra Phalabhoga Virakti. Then they have also told of what is called the Yamaniyamas, in which comes the Niyamas, Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is study. Here also we just now saw study of the Vedas, Vedangas, and so on. So then they talked of Tapas. Tapas is very much there in the Niyamas. They talk of Satya. Satya is there in the Yamas itself. Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya. We have covered all this in our previous lectures on Yoga Darshana. So you will see that the same contents are presented in 2 different molds, in yoga on one side and Vedanta on the other side. That's why Swami Shivananda of Divine Life Society established what is called Yoga Vedanta Forest Academy, a combination of yoga and Vedanta. They are not contradictory. They appear to be different, but actually they are same. The only formatting or the mold looks to be different. Of course, in the yoga path, the necessity of controlling the mind, stopping the mind is a crucial, most fundamental requirement. And when the mind is stopped, because here in the Vedanta path also, mind is the root cause. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. For bandha and moksha, manas is the root cause. So if we can calm the mind, or in other words, nullify the mind, then you will be reaching liberation. The jnana will automatically arise at that time. Now I think we have another 5-10 minutes. Can we have a discussion? Anybody wants to ask anything on these topics? Please feel free and ask.
Yeah, anyone, any questions? So the not related to it, but this Kena Upanishads. So the next one is between Yama and Nachiketa. This one is between whom, sir? If I have missed that, between whom is this, or is it just
Kathopanishad.
Upanishad?
No. That
No,
what you are telling between Nachiketa and Yama is Kathopanishad. This is our next
Kathopanishad.
session.
Yeah.
This is Kena Upanishad, where the student is asking the teacher.
Just as a student. Okay, sir. Yeah. No, that's what, between whom this Kena Upanishad.
Yeah,
is
between
happening
student
in the
and
class.
teacher.
Yeah.
Because all Upanishads are dialogues.
Mm.
So the word Upanishad itself means sitting nearby, sitting at the feet of the master. J. Krishnamurti wrote a beautiful book. So when the student sits at the feet of the master, he will ask fundamental questions. There is also a Prashnopanishad separately, full of prashnas only. So
Yeah.
the beauty here is that it is all a pedagogy, it is all an inquiry, it is a discovery. It is not a dogma, it is not a blind belief, it is not a religion in that sense. It is an inquiry of the truth for the fundamental questions which cannot be answered by normal sciences which we have studied in mathematics or physics or chemistry. This is the Atma Vidya. It is not Bhautika Vidya or Vaidya Vidya, etc. etc. It is Atma Vidya. So it is Brahma Vidya. In fact, that's why in Telugu we say Idemana Brahma Vidya when something is very difficult to understand. Idemana Brahma Vidya Kadu, you can do it like that. There's a proverb like that. So that means all normal Vidyas are doable, but Brahma Vidya is something beyond that. So it is no wonder that people cannot understand, and no wonder that people have to take lifetimes to understand, and no wonder that people have always doubts and questions. But here the spirit of Upanishads is inquiry. There is no declaration as such. So when inquiry starts, there is an answer by the teacher who knows, who is enlightened. So in Vedanta and Yoga also, the Guru Sishya Parampara is very crucial. In fact, in our ancient times, all education was a pedagogy between the student and teacher in a personal level. It's not a big classroom and all that. It's a few people, maybe 3-4 people, small group. They'll be sitting, they'll be living with the teacher all the time. And the learning process goes on. It goes on for many years. I've seen in Gurukulas this kind of thing happening even today. The kids go there and join there at the age of 6 or 8. And they'll be there for 12 years. They'll be learning the Vedas, Upanishads, Shastras, maybe 20 years. Then finally they become all knowledgeable of all subjects. This is the old ancient education system. And in the Taittiriya Upanishad, which we will be doing maybe after 2-3 sessions, the convocation address of such an education system is also given. And that convocation address is copied by IIIT Hyderabad and they repeat it in their convocation. What is called Snataka. So this is such a wonderful, the beautiful tree of education. In fact, Dharmapal wrote a book called The Beautiful Tree, how the education system was there for thousands and thousands of years in India before it was replaced with the modern Western British education system. It's a lot different and much more effective. Not based on books, but based on brain. based on knowledge. Because they had a belief that if you just mug up books, then books contain knowledge and your brain contains nothing. So they don't believe in book-based knowledge. They believe in brain-based knowledge. So they put the book aside. They keep on talking, chanting, and thinking and discussing. So that's how they acquired all knowledge in all subjects. Okay, Sita, any other questions or clarifications?
Yeah. No, one other thing I had, sir, in this, these Upanishads are there. If I have to convert it into the current situation, what is the key takeaway for normal sadhakas? For us, what is the key takeaway of Kena Upanishad? Like one essence, if you can summarize, that would be good.
Yes. So the key takeaway is the knowledge about self or Brahman. Now, on the surface, we have the senses, the eyes, ears, nose, mouth and skin, and hands and legs. There is something which is behind it, which is driving it. We all know that something, we call it life, let us say, life, prana. And what drives prana? And we also know that our mind exists, our thinking process goes on. And what drives the mind? So in the Gayatri Mantra also this concept came. Dhiyo yona prachodayat. Prachodaya. What drives your brains, your intellects? That is the key takeaway of Kenopanishad is Gayatri Mantra, believe it or not. Because Gayatri Mantra is giving Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo yona prachodayat. Dhiyo yona prachodayat. That divine power which is effulgent like sun, and which is the dearest and most lovable and most affectionate. Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya, the divine supreme power. Bharga is also like Bhagavan, like the great divine and all that. So that we call God or Ishvara, Paramatma in normal terms. That power may guide us. That is the meaning of the Gayatri Mantra. So the Gayatri Mantra is the paraphrase in summary of the Kenopanishad. So the Kenopanishad is elaborating it in a very interactive, inquiring manner, using certain allegories or kind of riddles. The eye of the eye, the mind of the mind. That means the eye cannot work without it, but it can work without the eye. What does it mean? Let us take this very simple thing. When you see an object in this universe, you are able to see because of your eye. Suppose your eye is not there, you cannot see. Blind man cannot see anything. So, if the eye is there, but still you cannot see, like when you sleep or when you dream or something else happens, the eyes are very much there, but they cannot see. That means there is something behind the eye which is not the eye. And that is life, you can say. But then behind life also, what is it? So the self is what is called Atman, which is also Brahman, because the entire self of all selves together is Brahman. I am Atma Brahma. There is a statement. This self is Brahman. Brahman means the one, big, Brihatvad Brahman, which is represented by Om. Of course, in Mandukya Upanishad, we'll come to know the statement, the definition of Brahman. Mandukya Upanishad goes very, very deeply into what is I and what is Brahman and why both are same. So the Kena Upanishad just through certain glimpses, gave us certain glimpses. The eye of the eye, the mind of the mind, he who knows reaches the truth. And finally he says, you can reach by tapasya, austerity. That means, tapasya means, those who are preparing for IIT also they are doing tapasya. That is one kind of tapasya. This is a much greater tapasya. And also tapasya includes yoga, pranayama, dhyana, and so on and so forth. So by these processes, you can achieve self-realization, which is jnana. And that story told in between about the devatas getting defeated by the bundle of light, yaksha, is to show that the Brahman is superior to all powers of nature. All powers of nature are only partial manifestations of the ultimate truth. Brahman is the ultimate truth, and therefore is more powerful. That's why in some religions, or even in Hinduism, some groups, they don't permit you to worship or meditate or pray to any other devata except Om, Parabrahman. Because that is ultimate. These are all small windows, small sparks, like Agni, Vayu, and all this knowledge, wealth. There are 33, huge number of devatas, the powers of nature, or forces of nature. So the one which is behind all this, but is manifesting in these forms. So that tool, if you know that, that is Brahmajnana. Once you know that you are that, basically moksha comes when you know that nobody gets moksha. In fact, I asked this question on my last day of retirement as DG of NIC to my officers who are all highly knowledgeable experts. Who gets moksha? I want to ask you also this question. Because you are not asking any question, I will ask question. Who gets moksha? Because if you say, I get moksha, I means the self, the pure consciousness. And I am Atma, Brahma, and it is part of Paramatma. We all know that Jivatma is part of Paramatma. So Atma is common, Atma is same. Whether Paramatma or Jivatma, Atma is same. Jivatma is a limited, small window of the entire total Paramatma. So being part of Paramatma, therefore Paramatma, how can Atma get liberation? Moksha. Because Paramatma never gets moksha. He is already moksha in moksha. So to realize that oneness of the Jivatma, the self, with the Paramatma is moksha. Moksha is already in moksha, provided you realize. The moment you open your eyes, you are caught up with various limitations and conditionings of life. Definitely you are not in Paramatma state. You are fighting your way through the life, through the whole day. And therefore you are a Jivatma at the most. Sometimes you even forgot that also. You think you are something else. You are a human being. Then sometimes many human beings become demons also. They behave like demons. So from demonhood to human beinghood, and from human beinghood to the pure consciousness self established state of existence. And to realize that you are not different from Paramatma is the moksha state. So to sum it up, I'll quote Adi Shankaracharya in Vivek Chudamani, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabhataram. First of all, among all the living beings and animals, not to speak of plants, to be born as a human being itself is a very rare thing, because there are 84 lakhs of species of animals. And Jantunam Narajanma Durlabhataram Tatopi Viprata. And among human beings, to be born as a Vipra, that means a person who studies Vedas, knows Sanskrit, is a very rare thing. Tattu Vaidika Dharma Marga Paratha. Among such Vipras, to be established and assiduously, dedicatedly following the Vedic Dharma is even more rare. Tattu Vidvat Sughoshanam. Among such people, to have an interaction with highly knowledgeable jnanis or vidvansas in sessions like this is even more rare. So, and among that, Brahmatmana samsthiti, to reach a state of samadhi where you are oneness with Brahman, and therefore you realize that you are already liberated, Nitya Shuddha Mukta Satya Paramananda Advitiya Brahma. You are that and not this. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Vidupasate. Not this which you are worshipping, not the money and job and house and property and share market, all these things. But you are joining and becoming merged and realizing your oneness with Brahman. And that is Shata Janma Koti Sukrutayar Vinalabhyate. 100,000 Shata Janma Koti. That means 100 crores lives are required to reach that state. That's what Shankara said. Maybe we have already finished most of those lives. That's why we are at least talking about this. I think we can close now.
Yes, sir.
Om. Yau Shanti Antariksham Shanti Prithvi Shanti Rava Shanti Oshadaya Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Vishwe Deva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarvam Shanti Shanti Deva Shanti Sama Shanti Redhi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Yeah, namaste, Shanti. Yeah, thank you everyone.